What is going on, my brilliant astrolabians? Happy Thanksgiving Eve to you. I'm trying to get the comments to pull up here, but I'm just getting a loading wheel. That's not great. Restream managed to buy me a couple extra weeks where I could continue to tolerate their bullshit, but now I can't see the comments. So we'll see if this ends up resolving itself at some point during the show. I can still see the YouTube comments, but may not be able to share anything onto the screen, and I won't be able to see any Twitter comments that come through. Hold on. I wonder if I refresh my page. I don't think it's going to end the stream. Bear with me one sec. Okay. So looks like we're still live. So refreshing didn't hurt too much. And now I've got the comments open. Do me a favor and drop a comment in the chat just to test it and see if it's working. Because I at least got the little pane to open on the side that will display them. Give you guys a second to catch up. Wouldn't be an astrolabe without technical difficulties, though we've managed to avoid them for the most part for the last few episodes. How are you guys doing? What is going on with my... Yeah, there we go. Okay, good. Perfect. Everything's working. All's well. What's going on with you guys? You guys ready? Ready for Thanksgiving? Making food, maybe? Someone got a turkey started? I just before I came up here, I was... my wife is going around vacuuming, mopping, cleaning, and Eastwood was watching Magic School Bus downstairs. So I was headed upstairs, and he asked me to change it to the rainforest one. He wants to talk about the rainforest. He's got an insane brain. We were going for a walk the other night, and he was, let's see, he started out as a Kodiak. We were Kodiak grizzlies. I was the daddy Kodiak, and he was the baby Kodiak. And then we had to spin around in circles like the bus on the Magic School Bus so that we could become deerbirds, which is what he calls killdeers. And so then we were deerbirds, and then he was chasing a deerbird and screeching at it, and he said he was like a bat using his echolocation. And so then he was a bat, but he was actually not just a bat. He was a velociraptor bat. And so we continued like that for a few minutes, and then what did he change to? Then he changed to a kitty. He was a kitty, and then he was a hyena, so he was running around cackling. And then he said, then we were both hedgehogs. Each time we change, we have to like spin around in circles. And so we're hedgehogs. And he told me, "Oh no, Daddy, look in front of us." And I said, "What is it?" And he said, "It's a Komodo dragon." And I said, "Oh no, what are we going to do?" And he said, "Well, you have to remember with Komodo dragons, their spit is poisonous." I said, "Oh yeah, that's true. So we don't want him to spit on us." And he said, you need to spit on him. You have poisonous spit now, and you need to spit your poisonous spit down his throat. I was like, "Oh, okay. All right. Well, then I will. I guess I'm a hedgehog with poisonous spit. And so I will spit my poisonous spit down the Komodo dragon's throat." But that didn't work because, unfortunately, as I learned the hard way, Komodo dragons have very long tongues that they can use to lick all the way inside their stomach and get all of the poisonous spit out again. And so then, I think then he just changed channels and we went to something completely different. I don't remember what it was, but this was all on the course of a 15-minute walk around the neighborhood. He is an absolute lunatic. Incredibly smart, way too smart for his own good. But yet, because he is a young boy, he's also really dumb. So my wife always tells him, if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough. Anyways, let's get some oinks in the chat for Pig Dirk. Do me a favor and hit the like button, and we will launch into this Thursday, Thanksgiving Eve astrolabe. First one I've got is this is just nice and wholesome and heartwarming. I had to save this one and share it with you guys because in honor of the recent astrolabe babies that have been born.
Okay, I'm your mom. I have no idea what you are, but I'm going to say girl.
I'm the dad, and I have 5, so let's root for boy this time.
I'm your oldest sister, and I think you're gonna be a boy. I'm the second oldest, and I think you're a boy. I'm the third oldest, and I think it's gonna be a boy. I'm the fourth oldest, and I think it's gonna be a boy.
Collins, do you think it's a boy or girl?
A girl.
Girl.
Okay.
So you're
Ready? All right.
Okay.
Ready? Go.
We're going to push it down. Okay. Are you all the way down, Daddy?
Yep, I'm down.
Okay, ready? 1, 2,
3.
I get to love you. It's the best thing that I'll ever do. I get to love you. It's a promise I make to you. Whatever may come, God, I will choose.
Oh man, that boy is in for it, man. He's gonna have a real special relationship with his dad because he is going to get the longhouse will be ever waiting for him. Oh man, Amy says that the other day Eastwood told her that when we all die, the ants will eat our bodies, but then the angels will come down and eat the ants and take our bodies to heaven. So this is what we live with. These are the sorts of insights that we get on a regular basis. Don't you want to have kids too? That mom's going to have to learn a whole new world of destruction. Yeah. That kid's going to have, what was that, five girls? So that kid's going to have like 6 moms. Oh, man. So, okay. On the flip side of the equation here, this is just dudes being dudes, man. Dudes are just so much fun.
Dude, they're so animated. I love them. Like, look at them.
Dude, he came in my hands and now he's not. He's not. Like, he won't own that. That's the joke that he made.
No. Okay, I gave him hand sanitizer, right? And then he looks at me, he makes eye contact with me as I'm putting
He
it in his
squirts hand sanitizer in my hand. He's like,
and he says, I hope you do that to me later. And then
as he's giving me eyes.
yeah, no, you initiated the eye
You
contact.
gave the eye.
You initiated eye contact.
I look at you and you're
I
like,
was looking at the bottle, and then you made eye contact.
as he makes a
with me.
fat fucking like.
Yeah, because it was empty. Do you think I control the laws of thermodynamics?
That's not thermodynamics.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's not. How full of bottles.
Can we please go home?
You guys gotta leave first. You gotta get out first.
That just makes it right at the end. They're sitting here watching because they're like, dude, you got to pull out. We're blocked in. And they're sitting here arguing about that. Oh, man. This one here is interesting. So Lindy Man here tweeted this a few days ago, which was just absolute. He knows exactly what he's doing. This is absolute engagement bait, and I can appreciate it. He says, no one ever says this is a TikTok from 2 years ago you have to see. Disposable content created in 24 hours to be consumed in 24 hours and never seen again. This is the internet. He's been on the internet long enough. He knows this is the internet equivalent of posting a big neon sign saying, send me as many TikToks from 2 years ago or more than 2 years ago as you possibly can. So really, just send me in as many TikToks as you possibly can. So there's this latent irony in here that He's like, it was created in 24 hours to be consumed in 24 hours and never seen again. And please give me as many of them as you can. Well, what's interesting is I find these, you know how there's like film lit? There's absolutely a TikTok lit. I got to be careful how I say that. A TikTok lit. You could have it like a TikTok literature class, because like this is in the same way that movies were like a creative expression of the deranged minds of their producers. That's what these TikToks are. There's memes layered on memes and exploring various different art forms. So I find this sort of stuff, like, really, I could sort of detach from it and just look at it objectively. Like, what kind of film are they producing? How does this go from here to here? How does that whole process happen? And this is a great one. This says, the editing, the camera work, the writing, coming back full circle. Just because it's only a minute doesn't mean it isn't memorable or brilliant.
3 gallons, 3 seconds.
You buying?
What are you selling?
Jackets. Vintage. Only $49.99 a piece, but wait. Buy now, get David for free. That's right. Buy now, get David for free.
Dude, I'm good.
It's gonna be getting cold out tonight. Sure you don't want to bundle up?
What are you doing in my fridge?
I'm a door-to-door salesman. If there's a door, I'm there. Now, I can offer you the premium package. What this is gonna do is give you... This is an offer you can't refuse. You gotta say yes to this. You gotta say yes to this. Real good pitch. You're gonna want to hear this. So what are we thinking? You wanna buy a jacket, Frank?
Dude, get out of my house.
I'm not in your house, Frank. What? Turn around. It's just a green screen. Things aren't always what they seem.
It's so cold out here.
How about a jacket on the house?
Bro, thank you.
Stay toasty.
Hey. It's cold out there. Want some warm cookies for the road?
Thanks, but I can't eat cookies without 2%.
This is another entry in the dudes rock category, in my opinion. Thank you, Michael Robertson. $10. Super chat. He says, very thankful for all your work over the last year, plus congrats on the success. I'm sure more is ahead. Yes, I hope more is ahead. There's plans for success ahead. Very much thankful for you guys. Appreciate you. And now, another entry in the dudes rock category from esteemed poster Dildo Gaggins. He says, I can tell I'm brain rotted from a never-ending stream of soul-sucking goy slop when the My Sacrifice Big AJ wrestling edit makes me feel some type of way. You guys ready? You ready? Get yourselves ready, because here it comes.
It's who we are. It's what we do. We bring happiness to the world. It's about making people happy, and it's about being a hero.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I really think this is a body double. There's something about him that just does not look right. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm pretty sure that's a body double. And if it is, it wouldn't change anything to me. This is I've been a long time appreciator of the Costco guys, because this is in the same vein as like the TikTok, like these little TikTok short films they're making. They figured out a way to take like this WWE world into real life, kind of. It's slop. It's absolutely slop, but it's brilliantly produced slop. And if it is a body double, that makes it all the better. It might just be because he's wearing a hat, and he's not wearing a hat, and I'm used to seeing him with one, and so maybe it just looks different to me. But it wouldn't be that hard to find a body double for this guy. But I think it's very brilliantly produced slop, and if it is a body double, it's even better. Like, he doesn't even have to put himself at risk physically for all of this stuff. He's monetized his whole public persona well enough that he can just hire someone to be him and go out and do all this entertaining stuff and everything. Like, there's always going to be normie slop, and I really, really respect the commitment to the bit and the level of execution to maintain maintain their slot profile and keep increasing it. Here's this is what my dream Thanksgiving dinner would be, like 20 of these. Real Donald Trump burger at Tsunami. Look at this thing. Oh, man. So it's got peanut butter, fried egg, 2 bacons, sloppy joe, 2 cheddar cheese, pate, lettuce, tomato, onion, and buns. This looks incredible. And I think this is, forgive me, my weeb friends, but this is Japanese, isn't it? So we've got another expression of our Japanese brothers, their love for Yokosuka-sha. Yokosuka-shi. Yeah. They Donaru Trumparoo. Yeah. Our Jap friends love them some Trump, don't they, guys? President-elect Trump is being honored with a 2-story tall bronze statue designed to capture his iconic defiant fist pump following the assassination attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania last July. The statue is hoped to be unveiled at Trump's inauguration. This is what I'm talking about. We need to start building statues for our heroes. The people who do memorable things, who sacrifice themselves, the great men of our times. We need to start building statues for them again. Look at that. Look at that. So here's I guess this is the the micro model of it. I can imagine someone 200 years from now walking up and looking up at it and speaking of the legend of Donald Trump. Will the statue shoot lasers from the eyes? That'd be great. I can't tell from the context here where exactly it's being built or like where it's going to be displayed. I don't know if it's going to be displayed in Butler, if it's hoped to be unveiled at his inauguration. I can't imagine them like putting it at the White House or something. I just can't fathom that actually happening. Oh my God, if that actually happened, I hadn't even considered that. I can't imagine they would do it. But I'll be really curious to see where they wind up doing this. It doesn't really matter where it is, honestly. Just put it somewhere, and then people can go travel and see it. And let's see what where are people going to rub on it? Yeah, it's definitely going to have the junk polished. Probably the shoes. So it'll be men. Men will probably be able to touch it, or girls will lift each other up or whatever to touch them in the junk. But then otherwise, it'll probably be like the shoes. Here's some good news for our gamers. Elon announces too many game studios that are owned by massive corporations. XAI is going to start an AI game studio to make games great again. People have been calling for it now for a while. We talked about it on one of the episodes a while back. And here we go. At 10 a.m. my time this morning, Elon actually announces that XAI is going to start an AI game studio to make games great again. And the first reply, Marty O'Donnell, need music? Oh my God. Please, please, please. Anyone who's out there listening that has the ear of Elon, I don't know if you need to tell Elon this. He may know it already, but anyone who's out there listening, please, please. We need this to happen. get Marty O'Donnell and Elon Musk creating with a new game studio, producing great video games. Total gamer reparations. That's right, Glonk. Welcome to Glonk Respecter in the chat. We are making America great again, one step at a time. Little update on the story I talked about yesterday with Angela McArdle talking about the LP. This is her explaining the future strategy of the LP National.
The precedent's been set. We're going to play kingmaker. If you want to get elected for president, you got to come to the table and offer libertarians something really good and compelling. You've got to say, you know, we're going to make these concessions. We want to work with you. You've got to put someone up who's willing to do that or who embodies libertarianism to a certain extent. You know, if you don't, if you run a Mitt Romney, like, we're going to wreck you in the future. I think that there's going to be, I think 2028 is going to be a really exciting year to do this. And I think that, you know, we're going to see a competition between Vivek Ramaswamy, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, and J.D. Vance. 3 out of 4 of those people I have a relationship with. That's crazy, you know? And it's not just like about me at the Angela show. Like, this is all the Libertarian Party. I wouldn't have this without the LP. You know, like, this is the most incredible signaling mechanism we have for the rest of the country on how to vote, you know, like, what values do you want represented?
This is, I think, probably the best possible outcome that could be coming out of here because in the end, we get to say we were right and they get to say they were right. They played their cards well. Things didn't go according to plan, but they are they're digging their way out of that and winding up better off than ever. This is heartening to me to see people who are, you know, socially close to me who are experiencing this kind of success and actually having a competitive third party that is aligned with significant figures in the I guess the MAGA coalition. This bodes very, very well for the security of Trump being able to instantiate things and have them persist into the future. Maintaining that coalition, the strength of that coalition, by using the LP as basically attack dogs to entrench your position, and the LP gets something out of it as well. The LP is like, we will help you entrench your position of power here, ensure that the president, the office of the president, remains among your crew of people, but we're going to need concessions on our end. We're going to need you to give things that we want. Now, they could ask for stupid things, and that might be a bad thing, and we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But I kind of don't think that's going to happen. I think this is going to be focused on. I just have the sense with the way the LP is trending that this sort of horse trading is going to focus on things like, I don't know, like education, freedom, or right to own firearms, things like that. I think are probably going to be the sorts of things they focus on. That's what I would encourage them to focus on, and basically serve as whatever bit of a counterweight as you can to keep the MAGA coalition honest to the actual principles that they're claiming to espouse, seeing other Americans as Americans. This is very heartening. On the flip side, this is heartbreaking. Here's Rudy Giuliani, America's mayor.
Reality is, I have no cash. It's all tied up. So right now, if I wanted to call a taxi cab, I can't do it. I don't have a credit card. I don't have a checking account. I have no place I can go take cash out except a little bit that I saved, and it's getting down to almost nothing. I have a business. I can do business expenses, but I'm very careful about that because God forbid I should make a mistake between a personal and a business expense. Unlike Hunter Biden, I go to jail right away. Reality is,
this is shameful. Absolutely shameful. I'd really like to see. I'd like to see Rudy get a position in the Trump administration, even if it's just like an honorary thing, just a just a token, just a token of appreciation. And I haven't kept up with all the exact details of everything about his case, but it's obvious that the only reason the case was pursued and prosecuted the way it was simply because of who he was and the limb he chose to go out on. So I don't know if a pardon or whatever is in order. I don't know all the details here, but in a time when much like the like Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy, in a time when people choosing to remain loyal to Trump were in very short supply, Rudy Giuliani put himself out, stuck his neck out, and he got it slashed. So I'd like to see him rewarded for his loyalty. Here's a thread from Senator Joni Ernst. She said, "We can eliminate more than $2 trillion of waste in Washington in 22 easy steps. Here's how Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Doge can begin to trim the fat and make them squeal." I like that one. I like this kind of rhetoric. Make them squeal. Ghost workers. We are spending $15.7 billion a year on underutilized buildings. Many are vacant. Bureaucrats refuse to show up to work, so why are we paying for empty buildings? Number 2, audit the IRS. Hundreds of IRS agents owe millions in back taxes. 150,000 federal employees owe $1.5 billion in back taxes government-wide. After we are done, these numbers need to be zero. How beautiful would it be to watch federal employees and IRS agents get audited? Undo Biden's billion-dollar boondoggles. Biden has spent $7.5 billion to build 17 EV charging stations. $7.5 billion to build 17 EV charging stations and $42 billion to expand rural broadband, but has connected 0 people to the internet. Pulling the plug on these programs will be the only efficient part about them. So $1.5 billion, $15.7 billion. So we're up to what is this, $50 billion? Cancel the crazy California gravy trains. 3 trains in California are costing taxpayers $144 billion to build. Let's put a stop to these train wrecks. Stop Christmas in September. From $4.6 million for Lobster Tail to $2.1 million for games, the ridiculous use it or lose it model encourages wild spending by federal agencies before the end of fiscal year. Doge needs to be the Grinch and save taxpayers $53 billion. End welfare for politicians. The Presidential Election Campaign Fund uses tax dollars to fund the candidacy of long-shot and fringe candidates running for the White House. Tax dollars shouldn't be financing the failed ambitions of politicians. Let's save $16.6 million. Bad pennies. Currently, the federal government is paying 3 cents to produce a penny and 11 cents to make a nickel. This makes no sense. Only Washington could lose money making money. Changing the composition of coins would save $50 million a year. And that would be very interesting. I'd like to hear more about what this proposition would be. $1 trillion secret slush funds. Washington is hiding $1.6 trillion in unobligated funds, including billions from COVID. We should not be hoarding money for secret pet projects when we're $36 trillion in debt. Bogus bonuses. The federal government spends hundreds of millions of dollars giving bureaucrats and contractors unearned bonuses for work that often never took place, including more than $500 million at NASA. Time to end this moondoggle. She's got some bars in here. Silly science. How fast does a shrimp run on a treadmill? How fast does a panda poop? Which tastes better, toilet water or bottled water? Can elephants solve puzzles? These are just a few of the bizarre studies funded using hundreds of millions in tax dollars. Unemployment for millionaires. Nearly 15,000 Americans earning $1 million in income collected $213 million in unemployment last year. The $1 million question, why are hardworking folks paying for this? Let's do this math. So, 213 million divided by 15,000. So $14,200. So basically $1,200 a month. So 15,000 Americans earning $1 million in income received $1,200 a month in unemployment last year. Government swag. Federal agencies collectively spend $1.5 billion every year on public relations, including Snuggies, mascots, keychains, and coloring books. Let's bag the swag. Can you imagine $1.5 billion on swag? Let's do that math. So 500 divided by, say, 350. It's actually going to be less than that because so $4,300 a month for every person in America. Not the taxpayers in America, every person in America. $4,300 a month for government PR, for government agencies' PR swag. This is insane. This is much worse than like a $1,200 hammer or whatever, $8,000 toilet. Spending $4,300 a month per person in the country for PR swag for federal agencies. Head in the clouds. Consolidating federal agencies' cloud computing software licenses would save $750 million a year. China's mad scientists. My investigations uncovered that Dr. Fauci and others have sent millions to shady Chinese labs for sketchy experiments. The worst part is that a lack of transparency means we don't even know how many millions are being spent on for what. More on the Fauci situation in a little bit. UN overpayments. The USA pays higher dues to the UN than any other country and sends $15 billion more voluntarily, despite UN employees participating in terrorist attacks and encouraging illegal immigration to the USA. Why are tax dollars undermining our national security? It's almost like those who are responsible for allocating these tax dollars and protecting national security are actually not Americans. They're either foreign interests or Americans acting at the behest of foreign interests. So they're traitors. That's the only way you wind up with a situation like this. Defenseless spending. The Pentagon wastes $125 billion on bloated bureaucracy and has never passed an audit. Let's declare war on wasteful spending. Unhealthy benefits. The Federal Employees Health Benefits Program wastes $1 billion annually paying for ineligible individuals. $1 billion a year paying for ineligible individuals. Meanwhile, I think what is the interest on the debt is something like $1.2 trillion a year and escalating. Paid not to work. Federal employees with no work assignments admit to napping, playing dominoes, and chess on the clock. Simply enacting a law passed by Congress would save $31 million a year. So after all the rest of this stuff, it's like $31 million a year. All right, whatever. Let them sleep. That just like pales in comparison to everything else. Stop giving away the farm. USDA spends millions to support pet projects like teaching pigs to play video games, subsidizing cricket farms, and other nonsense that does nothing to support our farmers. Snapback payments. Bureaucratic blunders result in $10 billion in ineligible SNAP payments a year. With the snap of a finger, we could fix this. Reducing duplication. Efficient and government rarely go with each other, but implementing hundreds of recommendations from Congress's nonpartisan watchdog, USGAO, would increase efficiency and save $200 billion a year in duplication. For every $1 billion spent by Washington, $102 million is waste. So for every $1 billion that's spent, by whatever metric she's using, for every $1 billion spent by Washington, 10% of that is wasted. And I think the federal budget's at $7 trillion, so someone could do that math. For what percentage is waste, even by whatever metric she's using. Implementing basic management principles would have saved taxpayers $688.5 billion last year. $700 billion. This is close to the budget for the Defense Department. Just in waste. This is just a $2 trillion start. Elon Musk, Vivek, and Doge and I would be hard at work putting waste on the chopping block and carving up Washington's bloated budget. And of all the initiatives that the Trump administration has talked about, this is one that I think they're probably going to make the most headway on. Because there is massive bipartisan support for this at this point. And there's a lot of the big moneyed interest that has now thrown their publicly and privately thrown all their support behind it. Yeah, 10.2%. I was meaning Column Rush that if you scaled that up, they say so 10.2%, whatever 10.2% of 7 trillion. So 10.2% of $7 trillion would be 700. Yes, so a little over $700 billion. Yeah. Andrew says squandering taxpayers' dollars this way should be a crime. And I expect that it's probably going to be treated that way in some cases. So here's the current stats on ammo and firearms related catches at ports of entry. This is from Train de Aragua Tracker. Current stats on ammo and firearms related catches at ports of entry. Take some time to review the analysis of the items. So if you take a look up here at the top, this first category is ammunition. This is for fiscal year 2022. At the top, this like light orange. This was 2022. 2023 is this blue here. 2024 is the dark orange. Fiscal year to date for 2025 is at 28,000. So there's that one, and then the other ammunition and gun parts. Look at this. Look at this number. 116,000 in 2022, 34,000 in 2023, 1.23 million in 2024. I wonder why a bunch of ammunition and gun parts are being brought into the United States. Why would this be? Why is there suddenly a massive, massive increase in the other ammunition and gun parts category? And this is just the stuff that was seized. So what was not seized? Why was there a huge influx all of a sudden? This tells some sort of story that someone needs to get to the bottom of. Where's Tom Homan? I saw a video of him. I didn't save it for the show today, but I saw a video of Tom Homan doing serving Thanksgiving dinner for, it was him with someone else. I don't remember. Serving Thanksgiving dinner for Border Patrol officers. And I just had to pause and admire for a moment as the absolute grug himself is just standing there shoveling food onto people's plates for him. So here's one of the big news events of the last couple of days. Dr. Jay Bhattacharya has been nominated to be the next NIH director. He says, I'm honored and humbled by President Donald Trump's nomination to me to the next NIH director. We will reform American scientific institutions so that they are worthy of trust again and will deploy the fruits of excellent science to make America healthy. This is Trump's statement. He says, I'm thrilled to nominate Jay Bhattacharya to serve as director of the National Institutes of Health. Dr. Bhattacharya will work in cooperation with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to direct the nation's medical research and to make important discoveries that will improve health and save lives. Jay is a professor of health policy at Stanford University, a research associate at the National Bureau of Economics Research, and a senior fellow by courtesy at the Stanford Institute for Economic Policy Research, Stanford Freeman Spogli Institute, and the Hoover Institution. He directs Stanford Center for Demography and Economics of Health and Aging. His research focuses on the health and well-being of vulnerable populations, emphasizing the role of government programs, biomedical innovation, and economics. Jay is a co-author of the Great Barrington Declaration, an alternative to lockdowns proposed in October 2020. His peer-reviewed research has been published in economics, statistics, legal, medical, public health, and health policy journals. He holds an MD and PhD in economics from Stanford University. Together, Jay and RFK Jr. will restore the NIH to a gold standard of medical research as they examine the underlying causes of and solutions to America's biggest health challenges, including our crisis of chronic illness and disease. Together, they will work hard to make America healthy again. So he mentioned in there, if you might have recognized his name but not known where you saw what you knew his name from, he was one of the authors of the Great Barrington Declaration, which, if you'll recall, was the first real organized pushback by the what turned out to be the alternative health establishment, pushing back against lockdowns, masking, and even expressing slight qualms about Fauci ouchies. And the response to them, like, so you saw his pedigree here. This is hardly some fringe kook, but he got crushed, completely censored, taken off of YouTube, taken off of Twitter. He was one of the foremost people who was being canceled during the COVID response. And now he is going to be the director of NIH. And 3-Year Letterman says, will you invite me to the White House as an honored guest? And he says, none of us are fit to enter inside the house of our greatest president, Ben Franklin, at 3rd Year Letterman. But if you're ever in the neighborhood, it would be fun to visit a local Beef O'Brady together. He memes. He's our guy. This is a massive, massive white pill. You can see on the backdrop of his profile picture here, it says no more lockdowns. And if you recall from the episode, the Mark Andreessen, Joe Rogan episode, I played some clips from yesterday. Andreessen said after going down to Mar-a-Lago, it's very clear that RFK has like full control over the entire health and human services world. So there's rumors going around today. Apparently, different Trump cabinet picks are getting swatted or having like bomb threats at their houses and stuff. This guy may need a security team because this is the sort of pick that will have the Deborah Birxes and the Faucis of the world pooping in their pants. So here's a scoop from Pirate Wires from a couple days ago. Following a 6 a.m. raid at Polymarket CEO Shane Copeland's Soho residence on November 13, which was a story that we talked about here, right after the election, the FBI showed up at Polymarket CEO Shane Copeland's house and took his phone and his laptop. So after that happened, the prediction market platform Kalshi, a Polymarket competitor, paid huge social media accounts to boost news of the raid and push a narrative that Copeland and Polymarket were guilty, according to sources close to the matter and screenshots we viewed. Other screenshots provided by sources appeared to show other influencer accounts who posted negative content about Copeland and Polymarket following the raid, discussing the fact that they were in paid partnerships with Kalshi. One source we spoke to told us that just days after the raid, a third party associated with Kalshi offered him $3,500 to write a hit piece on Polymarket. Here's Mike Solana and Brandon Gorell with new reporting on the Pirate Wires today. The link is in here. I'm not going to read through the whole piece, but if you go to kingpill.substack.com after the episode, I'll upload the link. It will be in the whole list of links, and you can go read it yourself. But this is an interesting thing I've been sort of keeping half an eye on. The Polymarket emergence, which is something that the Peter Thiel's Founders Fund was an early investor in, and the way that it really came on the scene in the elections this year, and it's all over the place. Sports, elections, there's all sorts of different things. This betting markets thing, and then the connection between betting markets and crypto and like tokenization and NFTs, like it's a total wild west world, but there's going to be a lot of super high leverage stuff that comes out of that. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on it, and it's been interesting watching the dynamic emerge in the competition between Kalshi and Polymarket. And then there was a thing going around. A lot of people were observing that a lot of these major podcasters were very obviously doing Polymarket ads that were not disclosed as Polymarket ads. Like they would just sort of organically talk about Polymarket as like, hey, I was betting on Polymarket the other day and there was this really interesting thing, or here's this interesting story about it. And so they're advertising for Polymarket, but because the nature of Polymarket's product, they don't need you to like go to a specific link and like use a code or anything like that. They'll just pay them to talk about Polymarket. And so then people will hear about Polymarket and they'll go over to Polymarket. It's kind of similar, honestly, to the news model with Big Pharma. It's a little more direct because they have the commercials. But even without the commercials, basically throughout all of COVID, all of CNN, MSNBC, all NBC, all the different CBS, all the news stations, were all just round-the-clock advertisements for Big Pharma products. It's something that I don't get super bent out of shape about. I'm like, whatever. Like, if I hear, I don't, maybe this is just me, like if I hear Theo Vaughn talking about Polymarket, I'm kind of like, he's probably getting paid to do this. And it doesn't really make a difference to me whether he's being disclosed or not. I don't give a shit. It's pretty obvious that he's being paid. It wouldn't make a difference to me whether or not he was, because I have self-control. But I guess this is just something to file away for the time being, because it may end up blowing up into something much larger. Wanted to share this with you guys. A good friend of the show, Wade Stotts, the one I have badged the new right late night guy. I had an interview with him a few months ago here on the channel. You can go back and listen to that. It's also on all podcatchers, because it's not really a visual sort of show unless you want to sit here and look at Wade and I. So you can get the podcast version of that as well at King Pilled. But he did this little bit the other day, and then he went on and talked to Orrin McIntyre, and I really recommend that conversation. Look for Orrin McIntyre talking to Wade Stotts in the last couple of, I think it was 3-4 days ago, something like that. But he makes a point in this little video he made that I've talked about here on the show before, that what we're seeing is the libs all becoming conservatives. They're beginning to ape conservatism. They're beginning to act like conservatives have for a really long time. And so I'm going to share the video here. He's gotten some good traction out of it, and it's been up for several days. So I'm going to share it in full with you guys here. And you should go follow Wade at Wade Stotts.
So I might be crazy, but when I see athletes doing the Trump dance, or John Jones giving Trump his UFC title belt, it doesn't feel like an exception anymore. It feels normal. But when I watch stuff like the latest Jaguar ad, it feels anachronistic, like it's their version of trad posting. But instead of a blonde girl wearing a dress in a wheat field, it's this creature wearing a dress on the set of the Bye 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 music video. It sounds weird to say, but the left are the conservatives now. At least that's how they're acting. Once the Trump dance started to catch on in sports, we started seeing lefties complaining that politics has taken over their sports viewing experience. Sports isn't a place for celebratory dances, it's a place for crying about slavery. They're even running to alternative social media platforms, the latest one being Blue Sky. There you'll find posts by Mark Hamill, Barbara Streisand, and the Reading Rainbow guy. It's basically the social media equivalent of Dancing with the Stars, but somehow gayer. A new X account called Libs of Blue Sky has been collecting some of the most unhinged things going on there, but I was particularly interested in this picture. In it, all the left's accomplishments are set up like dominoes, the last of them being trans rights. The furthest one you can see is labeled literacy, which is great, as if Ellen Page's top surgery is a direct result of Hooked on Phonics. But that's a decent picture of the left right now. They're trying to dig in and hold the ground that they've gained. We saw this with Kamala's "We're not going back" slogan. They want to conserve what they've been building for the last few decades. And as if to prove my point, this week Jon Stewart did a whole segment about how the Democrats are acting like impotent hall monitors, whining about hypocrisy and decorum while sporting an atomic wedgie. They're the ones on the defensive. They're the ones standing athwart history yelling stop, holding on to norms that have already been shattered, and of course going on the news complaining that what their enemies are doing is unconstitutional. The best they're hoping for is to slow us down. They're Mike Pence and Mitch McConnell, which is why they get along with those guys. Over the last 8 years or so, the left made Trump the central figure of American life. That was fine as long as he was the villain, but either way, he's now the uber celebrity. All the celebrity endorsements Kamala could roll out didn't mean much, because we had the celebrity, and he also just happened to be our candidate. The moment the needle shifted to 50+% pro-Trump, people felt more comfortable supporting him in public, doing the kind of Dancing with the Stars that people care about. And that's going to continue. By making Trump the focus of all public life, the left imbued him with a power that they can't counter. Kamala may have had 100 billionaires backing her, but we had the billionaire. For once, we didn't just have an alternative. We bought Twitter, and it really did feel like we bought it. As Gary on X said, it's all about proximity to power, and no one on Blue Sky has any power whatsoever. For years, conservatives have been saying right-wingers are the new punk rock. We're saying Parler or Getter was going to be the next big social media site. Up till now, that's been mostly wishful thinking. But now we're actually in that era. Think about it. Who's the big political figure of the left who would send a packed arena into a roaring cheer like Trump did at UFC? But the left has decided to do the most conservative thing ever and refused to learn from defeat. Politico posted an article urging future candidates, don't give up on Democratic celebrities just yet. They're like a guy at a bar who thinks this girl will marry him if he just shows her one more yo-yo trick. The delusion is kind of impressive. So yes, they're acting like conservatives, which is another way of saying they're acting like losers. others. But the chief thing they wish they could conserve is their narrative, because the narrative gave them everything. If you own the narrative, every action you take can be justified by it. So when they lost the narrative, they lost everything. And I can't stress enough how big of a deal Elon was in this. We're in the middle of a preference cascade, and preference cascades can only happen when people can see and hear each other. They're impossible when the first person to speak out gets their account suspended. So MAGA has the mandate, and they have the cultural momentum, which is a strange position for right-wingers to find themselves in. The worst thing they could do is waste it. But I don't think that's going to happen. After all, wasting momentum is what conservatives do.
Shout out to Wade. Very well broken down. I've been I had a 45-minute sneezing fit earlier, and it keeps coming back. I'm wondering if I got like a cat hair stuck in my nose or something. So I apologize if I sound extra phlegmy or I sneeze a lot over the next little bit. My wife says 44 likes or Matt takes his shirt off. All right, I can work with that. I can work with that. If you don't get me 44 likes, I might have to 49 likes. 49 likes. That's what it is. 49 likes or I might have to take my shirt off. There's a point in here that I wanted to address, and I forgot what it was. Let's see. I wanted to say that there's all these rumors around of Elon talking about buying MSNBC, and I really want to see a world in which Elon buys MSNBC, gives primetime hosting to Alex Jones, and brings on Wade Stotts to do the late night show. Just absolutely take it over. Can you imagine the libs turning on MSNBC and seeing Alex Jones on there? Can you just fathom the sheer meltdown that would happen? And it would be completely impotent because, like, what he's pointing out here is they don't have the narrative anymore. They've lost the narrative. And now they're trapped in this cycle where anything that they try to do to take back the narrative just forces them to lose the narrative even more. The whole citizen journalism thing that Mike Flynn was talking about a few years ago, that's actually become a thing with the help of a very powerful billionaire. And so you're now getting to shout out Mark Andreessen. He was high-low versus the middle pilling Joe Rogan's audience in the episode that dropped yesterday. You're seeing a new high-low happening here where you have the celebrities, the elites on the MAGA side, and then the plebs, all the chuds, versus the middle on the other side. So anything that they try to do to take back the narrative just results in their further discrediting and reinforces the MAGA narrative. And once you lose a narrative, it's very, very difficult to bring it back. The best way you can bring it back is by having some sort of a iconic person that you can attach everything to, that becomes the messaging apparatus, that becomes the focus of the willpower of the opposition. But they don't have someone like that. Obama has completely discredited himself. Kamala has discredited herself. Biden is senile and voted for Trump. So what? Pete Buttigieg? Cory Booker? Gavin Newsom? Gretchen Whitmer? Like, none of these, Josh Shapiro, none of these are like compelling, charismatic people. Like, they're all people that could have been astroturfed into relevance in the past. But now anything that's going to take on the MAGA world, any single person who's going to take that on is going to have to be able to command a room and have charisma that outdoes the combination of Trump and Elon and Vance and RFK and Tulsi and Vivek and all of the people that are surrounding in their orbit. Somehow the libs have to boot up a competitor narrative formation mechanism that can outshine them, that can pull oxygen away from them. You realize how freaking impossible that is? It's going to take years for them to create something like that. They don't have the groundwork for it. They've completely mortgaged away all of their infrastructure. It's going to take them a really long time to do that. And honestly, the straightest path is by carving off people from that contingent. Getting an RFK or a Tulsi to run as a Democrat. Like that's their best hope. And then if you're going to do that, the only way you can really do that effectively, especially while Trump's popularity numbers are really high, the only way you can really do that effectively is by being explicitly pro-MAGA and just saying, like, obviously Trump isn't going to run again, so you're going to have, like, who's going to take over Trump's mantle? Who's going to maintain his legacy the best? I think that's what the 2028 presidential election is going to be about. Who is going to be the most faithful to Trump's legacy? That's what the political parties are going to focus around battling over. That probably sounds crazy to say right now, and it would have sounded insane to say a couple of months ago. But that's looking through like the game theory of it all. That's the only thing I can conclude. Here's the absolute state of Kamala right now. She dropped this video. Was this yesterday? Yeah, yesterday evening. She dropped this. The Democrats Twitter account. So like at the Democrats tweeted out this video.
I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
She is trashed. She looks so rough. There was a couple of, I wonder if I could find a couple of these pictures here. I was searching for another tweet about this earlier and I couldn't find it. Let me see if I can find. There was a couple of people who posted videos or pictures of like side by side, her before and then a screenshot of her from that video. And the contrast is, when I first saw the video, I was like, wow, she's looking kind of rough. But then if you see the contrast with what she used to look like and what she looks like now, it's stunning. She is just absolutely crushed. Here we go. Look at that. Now, obviously, this is like a, great lighting and she's, got makeup on and but like, they could have easily crafted that for her here. Now, the rumor that I saw, now this is the one I couldn't find, the rumor was that she's the one who went and posted this herself. She came in and she was like, I need to post something. I need to get a video out. And they were like, I don't know if that's a good idea. She's like, no. She's like, shut up, get out of the way. I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I just got a message. I got to get out there. Which sounds like someone who's probably drunk. She looks and sounds like she's drunk. And she just looks rough as hell. And if I was to kind of connect a couple of things together, my suspicion is that there was the clips that I played you guys the other day of the top Democrat donor who said that that she's like her career is over. And then there was a poll that was done that said like a majority, I think it was like 31% of people wanted her to run again. So she had like a plurality, but then there was like undecided was basically the same. And then there was a couple other people on it or whatever. So she's like, she's trying to maintain relevance. She's like, I'm going to come out and I'm going to take back control of the narrative. And I'm going to deliver my message to the people so that they could be encouraged and, whatever. She's deranged. Here's the something else that dropped from Bad Hombre. Says, whoa, Kamala Harris is not unburdened. She could potentially be facing legal issues with the FEC, aside from her $20 million debt. Reports reveal that internal polling from the Harris campaign never showed her in the lead or even with a viable chance of winning. Despite this, the campaign hid this from top donors, defrauded and misled them by falsely claiming she was ahead, and continued soliciting contributions under false pretenses to the tune of over $1 billion. So here is Kamala's senior advisor. This is from Jack Posobiec. Kamala's senior advisor, David Plouffe, admitting the media polls that had Kamala ahead were all wrong. Their internals never had her winning.
When we got in, my recollection is some of that snapped back, but we were behind. I mean, I think it surprised people because there was these public polls that came out in late September, early October, showing us with leads that we never saw. I mean, it was just basically a race that in the battlegrounds was 46-47, 47-48. So that's not where we started. We started behind. She was able to climb out. I think even after the debate, we might have gained, 0.51. It wasn't a race that moved a lot. And so I think when you think about our own internal analytics, if you have Wisconsin at 47-47, or Pennsylvania 48-47 Trump, let's say, which I think is where we had it at the end, you've got to have undecided break your way more than your opponents. And you've got to get a little benefit from turnout, which we weren't able to do. When we got in,
So you guys remember the clip that I played yesterday of what was his name, John Morgan, I think, who he didn't give any money to her, but he was like aghast at what they were doing and the way they blew all of this money, and now it's gone. She's in debt. They have vendors that they've just stiffed. I would not at all be surprised to see think about what they could get access to if the FEC decided to do an investigation here. Did she defraud her donors? How delicious would that be? Imagine the wedge that would drive into them. You just have to do it just like, hey, we're gonna do an investigation here. We're seeing, connecting some things here. It looks like you guys were probably defrauded. That's not right. It's not right that they defrauded you that way. They lied to you and made you think that there was actually something to this campaign, and you dumped all this money into it, and then they just wasted all of it. They must have been laundering that money. They couldn't possibly be this incompetent. I think you need us to come in and do an investigation. And then some of these people, if they feel defrauded genuinely, they might be like, hell yeah, go fucking investigate them. I want my money back. I want justice. CB says, let's have a moment of silence of self-respect for the It's So Over bros. Yeah, right. You know who it's so over for? It's so over for anybody associated with Barack Obama or Kamala Harris. Here's the Harris campaign chair, Jen O'Malley Dillon, who's one of the chief suspects in the disappearance of all this money, complaining about the uphill battle they had to fight. This is rich.
I would say, I mean, look, I am not media hater by any measure. And I think that, we women don't get far in life talking about double standards. So that's not the point. But I do think a narrative, 107 days, 2 weeks fucked up because of a hurricane, 2 weeks talking about how she didn't do anything.
Oh, no, she had to do a job.
She was doing plenty, but we were doing in our own way. We had to, be the nominee, had to find a running mate and do a rollout. I mean, there was all these things that you kind of want to factor in. But real people heard in some way that we were not going.
Wait a second. So when you orchestrated your little coup, then it turned out you actually had to, she had to keep doing the job of vice president because she's actively the vice president, but then you also have to, find a vice president? Can you imagine having to orchestrating a coup to make yourself the nominee and then being like, oh man, it's not fair. I can't fully campaign because I have to get a vice president now.
To have interviews, which was both not true and also so counter to any kind of standard that was put on Trump that I think that was a problem. And then on top of that,
it was a double standard.
We would do an interview, and to Stephanie's point, the questions were small and processy and about
dumb.
They were not informing a voter who was trying to listen to learn more or to understand. And I'm not here to say that the whole system was focused on us incorrectly.
This woman is cooked. She is cooked. The libs are going to put her in the crystals. Because now she's trying to run with this narrative that, it's the media's fault. The media wasn't asking her the right questions so she could truly see who she was. where the media's like, can we literally ask her any questions? Can we talk to her whatsoever? And then when you talk to her, it's like, okay, can you add 2 + 2 for us? Can you confirm you're able to do that? Okay, I understand the monologue, but can you add 2 + 2? Is that something you're capable of? Madam Vice President, please. I understand, but please, can you add 2 + 2 together? Like, this is the position that the journalists are put in. And then they're all taken over with freaking out about Trump, and meanwhile they have, was she the campaign chair? Yeah, the campaign chair for the Harris campaign being like, oh, it's your guys' fault. You had a double standard in your coverage of us versus Trump. And you could tell she knows that she's stepping in it, because she's like, I like you guys. Everything's fine and great and cool. And remember, I'm a woman, so I'm kind of a victim here no matter what. She is going to get thrown out on her ass.
I'm just saying, like, again,
like she's in legit potential legal trouble here. And the only thing she could do is just turn around and circular firing squad any potential allies she might have.
And of the things we need to explore as we move forward as a campaign and as a country, that does a disservice to voters. And, I think back and think we should have signaled more of our strategy early on about podcasts and who we were trying to reach. But we had a limited amount of time to reach the people we were trying to reach, and we were trying to go to them. But being up against a narrative that we weren't doing anything, or we were afraid to have interviews, is completely bullshit, and also like took hold a little bit. And we just gave us another thing we had to fight back for that Trump never had to worry about.
Pluff.
Biden dropped out and endorsed Harris on July 21, and Harris's first interview was with Dana Bash on August 29. So what's that, 39 days later? It took her 39 days until her first interview. And her first solo interview was the 13th of September. I kind of feel bad for this guy. Like,
I would say
he gets this great tweet that goes viral, and then he gets community noted on it. And it's not even him being community noted for like anything he said. Oh, man. It is delightful to watch them spiral out. So I've got a couple more clips here from the Andreessen interview that I listened to the majority of last night. I think I've got 20 minutes or so left on it. But he had a couple other points that he dropped that I wanted to highlight. This first one, he's talking about Sheryl Sandberg. So Sheryl Sandberg is someone, if you recall, I shared the emails that were posted, that were publicized between Mark Zuckerberg and Peter Thiel and a couple of the other executives at Meta, talking in 2020 about crafting Mark Zuckerberg's popular appeal as being kind of like the archetypal millennial, like the voice of the millennials or whatever, and trying to position him that way. Sheryl Sandberg was one of the people who was involved in that. So this is what Andreessen had to say about this.
Like to go to their page and see what else they comment
I'll give you another example. Here's another radicalizing moment for me. So it's my friend Sheryl Sandberg, who I worked with very closely for a long time at Facebook, and by the way, Democrat, liberal, and by the way, endorsed Kamala, like very much not on the same page as me on these things. She actually worked in the Clinton administration, died in the Democrat. She wrote this book called Lean In about 12 years ago. It's this sort of feminist manifesto, and it basically said Lean In. And the thesis of Lean In was that women in their lives and careers could quote unquote lean in. She said what she observed in a lot of meetings was the men were leaning into the table and sitting like in front, and then the women were like leaning back and waiting to be called on. She said the women should lean in. It became a metaphor for her, for women should like lean in on their careers. They should like aggressively advocate for themselves to get like raises and promotions. Men do. Women should basically become more aggressive in the workplace and then therefore perform better. And so it was a manifesto to women basically saying, be more confident, be more assertive, be more aggressive, be more successible. And I read the draft of the book when she was writing it, and I said, well, you realize you've written a right-wing manifesto. Right. And she looks at me like I've lost my mind, right? Because she's a lifelong lefty. And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, this book is a statement that women have agency. Right? This book is a statement that the things that women choose to do will lead to better results. But that's what people believe on the right. On the left, what people believe is that women are only, always, and ever victims.
Wow.
And then if a woman doesn't succeed in a career, it's because she's being discriminated against. And so I predicted when this book comes out, the right-wingers are going to think it's great, and you're going to get it, like the left is going to come at you. Because you're violating the fundamental principle of the left, which is anybody who does less well is a victim. Which in that case is exactly what happened. By the way, the reviews were all by women. And they tore into her, like in every major publication, they just like completely ripped her.
Wow.
And they're like, how dare this rich entitled woman be telling us, be telling women that they're not victims and that they're, that they have all this agency, because this is denial of sexism, right? It's denial of oppression.
Wow. Because imagine if a man wrote a book like that for men.
Right. No, that's patriarchy, right? That's that'd be,
Well, but I mean,
that'd be
but men wouldn't attack it.
Oh, right, exactly, right.
It would be
Yeah.
a guidebook.
Yeah, that's
this
right.
is how you
That's
kick ass and get ahead.
Yeah, we call it self-help.
Lean in, bro.
Lean in.
just call it,
exactly
just
right.
call it lean in, bro.
Exactly right.
Wow, that's crazy.
So
So you
again,
get attacked for that.
So again, it's the inversion. It's the
Yes.
resentment. It's the inversion, which is like advocating on your own behalf and choosing to do things that make you.
What
more
was her
successful.
reaction to that blowback?
I would say she was. I don't want to speak for her, but she was not pleased.
She was not pleased. These clips just went too well together. You know, this woman, Jen O'Malley Dillon, whining and complaining. Oh, there was a double standard. We were under too much pressure. We weren't able to perform well enough. Just totally ceding away all of her agency. I'm not responsible for any of this. You know, we tried to do a hard thing and we fell short, but you can't question our commitment to the cause, or, you know, this really high level complex thing we were trying to do. And they just completely porked their way through the whole thing. Andrew here says, Matt, normally when you do a coup, the media is the first thing you take over so you can get it's already over, so stop fighting. Here's why we had to do this coup speech. This is a very good point. No successful coup has ever waited 39 fucking days to explain to the people what or why it happened. And I'll go even further. I'll say probably no attempted coup has ever waited that long. Because it's so profoundly stupid. Someone who has the balls to attempt a coup generally is not going to be dumb enough to think, oh, we're going to wait a month and a half to explain why we did what we did and to legitimize it. These are stupid people. The coup was executed by someone sending a tweet. That's literally what it was. It could have been one single person. It could have been Kamala herself. It could have been some staffer of hers who really wanted Kamala there and was basically just forcing Kamala into the position. Because once that tweet was fired off with Biden's resignation letter, quote unquote, the rest of this was all set in stone. There was only one way that it could go, which was Biden endorse Kamala, the whole machine get behind Kamala, and then try to what's the term I'm looking for here? Like like dealing with her tenderly, carefully, giving her the kid glove treatment, and trying to hide her from the people as much as possible and have the media run as much shameless cover for her as possible, and cross your fingers and hope that beats Trump. As soon as that tweet was fired off, there was no other way that it could have gone. The party couldn't actually have managed to go around and somehow supersede Kamala. Because if they had actually had an open primary, which is supposedly what Pelosi and Obama and everyone wanted, if they had actually had an open primary, then, and she didn't win, they would have been dealing with rearguard actions from their own people who were aghast that you would put this black woman, vice president, in this position and then deprive her of the opportunity to be the presumptive nominee. That would have fractured the party and would have been a huge headache that would have ultimately cost them the election. And once that tweet was sent, the only thing that Joe Biden could do is endorse her, clearly. Because he didn't want to be ousted. So he's just going to give the finger to someone. And the best way he can give the finger to him is endorse her right away. This is like the crazy world that we live in, is that all of this was essentially set in stone based on the actions of what could have been as simple as two people. It could even have been one person. You could have had one staffer in there who's like, you know what? I'm going to just fuck everyone here. I'm going to type up on a blank document a resignation letter from Joe Biden. I'm going to tweet it out. And then 30 minutes later, I'm going to tweet from him endorsing her. Force her into the position she doesn't want to be in and can't handle. And screw over the relationship between the Bidens and the Obamas. Like, one single person could have accomplished this. That's how fragile their power was. All it took was 2 tweets, and the whole thing was cooked. $10 super chat from EH says, me thinks there was still fortification. There are threats of a Kamala run in 28. I hope and pray that Kamala can get a new liver by then. I hope. Yeah, no, Kamala's not running in 2028. After the inauguration, Kamala's going to disappear. We're never going to hear from her again. She is cooked. She has no political future whatsoever. She might be able to wind up on like The View or something, but The View's not going to be around much longer either. What if it was someone who was friends with Seth Rich? I like that. That's a recreational belief I'm happy to take on. Republican twink staffer strike again. Okay, pushing forward a couple more clips here. So here is, I mentioned earlier how Andreessen was high-low versus the middle pilling Rogan's audience. And here, they're talking about the importance of physiognomy and the connection between fitness and physiognomy and wisdom and credibility.
So one of my theories on this is that something very specific happened during COVID, which is the public health people by and large looked very unhealthy.
Yes.
They didn't look good.
Right.
And so you've got these people standing up there telling everybody how they've got to like do all the lockdowns and the masks and like all that stuff. And like
Bill Gates should get jacked.
That would be very helpful.
He's got a lot of money.
It would be extremely helpful.
Get a trainer.
When he writes the book and goes on the press tour to talk about public health.
Stop
how the
eating
rest
fake
of us
meat,
should
get
live.
a trainer.
That would be great.
Yeah.
It'd be great. By the way, it'd be great for him and his family and society. It would be very reassuring.
Bill Gates had a six-pack. I'd listen to him more.
That, I think, would be absolutely fantastic. And so, like, it's just this thing. It's just like, well, of course. Like, yes, the people who are telling us all how to live and eat ought to be healthy. Like, and if they're not, like...
Clearly.
Right?
And that's where RFK comes in play.
100%.
He looks fantastic.
Yeah, he looks great. He looks great.
Yeah.
Super tight. Like, it's just like, wow.
Yeah, we're taking pictures. I'm like, dude, you're jacked. We got to put my arm on him. I'm like, you're fucking jacked, dude. Look at you.
Yeah, exactly.
Works out all the time at Gold's Gym in Venice.
There we go.
With jeans on.
Awesome.
Works out with jeans on.
That's old school.
I don't get that.
That's amazing.
That seems weird. It seems like it gets in the way of your squats unless you're wearing like Origin jeans or something that's got a lot of stretchy fabric to it.
Jeans.
Yeah, you have to give stretchy jeans. But even then, like, put some shorts on, you fucking weirdo. Like, what are you doing, man?
And then here's Andreessen talking about their meetings with the Biden admin where they told him not to even start AI companies. So obviously AI is a pretty big deal. AI innovation is a very big deal. This is something that's been splitting Silicon Valley in half for years now. And the Biden administration made it very clear which side of that debate they were going to land on.
Media.
The AI thing was very alarming. We had meetings this spring that were the most alarming meetings I've ever been in, where they were taking us through their plans, and it was
what kind of? Can you talk about it?
Basically, just full government control, like this sort of thing. There will be a small number of large companies that will be completely regulated and controlled by the government. They told us. They just said, don't even start startups. Like, don't even bother. Like, there's just no way. There's no way that they can succeed. There's no way that we're going to permit that to happen.
Wow.
Yeah, they said this is already over. It's going to be 2 or 3 companies, and we're gonna control them, and that's that. Like, this is already finished.
Oh my God! Yeah. No, when you leave a meeting like that, what do?
You go endorse Donald Trump.
Media.
So if you've listened to the conversations that Andreessen and Ben Horowitz have had over the last couple of months, they've talked about this at length, and they've described this. He's a little blunter about it here, but they've described how there's been total hostility from the Biden administration toward anything in the domain of AI, which is just madness. And this is like telling people that the internet, don't even bother innovating on the internet. Don't even bother building websites. Don't even bother. We're not going to allow you to build websites. There's just going to be 2 or 3 large websites. Those are the only ones that are going to be used. The only people that the only ones that people are ever going to have access to. We will crush any other ones that are created. It's like sociopathic. And as clearly as Peter Thiel has delineated, he said you have all these people who are concerned about these various different existential risks, climate change and AI and nuclear war and all these other different things. And his fear is that people are so afraid of all of those other existential risks that it makes them de-risk every industry so completely that they effectively create a new existential risk, which is the totalitarian one world government, which is the direction everything was trending. This is why it's so significant, the work that Tom Luongo has done talking about the City of London and the Western European oligarchs and their connections to the nation of Israel and the way that we've had an occupied government. Because that's been the goal. The goal has been we need to hamstring America as much as possible, because the one thing that stands in the way of us attaining this one world government, this extension of the British Empire to the entire world, where we can govern we have absolute control over all property in the world. The one thing that stands the most in the way of that is America. Because of America's geographic position, our natural resources, our national spirit, our willingness to take risks, entrepreneurship is basically equivalent with America. So if you allow this sort of risk-taking, if you allow this sort of innovation, this sort of creativity, it's going to compound on itself. And with a foundation in America, with its geographic position and its natural resources and its the ability to protect itself from all comers, like nobody's ever going to be able to compete with it. You cannot have a globally dominated government without focusing as much effort as you can on subduing America and hamstringing America and keeping America from taking risks. This is their delineation for why this was such a big deal. This was the deciding issue for them. Them being Andreessen and Horowitz. And they're major proxies for the entire digital Silicon Valley, AI, crypto, venture capital, that entire world. They're gods in that world. So them making a move like this was earth-shattering. And here's how Mr. Andreessen, a powerful mutual of mine, I might add, this is what he thinks about the future. Forgot to share the screen.
Super optimistic. I'm incredibly optimistic. And I was optimistic already with flashes of pessimism, but like I'm really optimistic, and especially now. So I think this is going to be, we have the real potential here for golden age. Like,
we really do.
We really do.
Yeah.
The capabilities that we have and the people that look, in my day job, I meet these young, I meet these 22-year-olds every day that are just like the smartest people in the world. It's the smartest people I've ever met. I think they're getting better, by the way, as time passes. By the time they're 22, they just know a lot more.
They have so much more access to information than we did.
Yeah, they're so much better trained, capable, and ready to go.
Yeah.
Fired up. And they know each other, able to connect online, and they're already in communities, and they know how to help each other. And so, like, yeah, the productive and inventive, creative, aspect, particularly of this country, is just like there's never been anything like it in the world.
I think there's also
super optimistic. I'm incredible.
He sees us. They are already plugged into online communities. They help each other. They're ready to go. They're fired up. It wasn't that long ago that everybody was super down on the future of the youths. And it turns out that the youths are going to be all right. It makes me think of the fourth turning and what they predicted about the millennial generation. So he's talking about Zoomers, but there's like millennial and Zoomers. Millennials are the hero generation, and I can't remember exactly what the Zoomers were after that. I think they were like the artists. But I'm very optimistic about the future. Dudes rock, man. And guys like Andreessen, they see the potential in letting dudes be dudes and just tell you, just go build shit. Nobody's going to hold you back. Nobody's going to drag you down with HR nonsense and nanny state bullshit. We're getting rid of all that. It's time to let dudes be dudes again. So this is a guy, one of the guys I've been following as I've been keeping up with the MicroStrategy stuff going on. He's a good follow, Jeff Walton. Why am I not following him? I've literally been following him. Anyways, he said, this is the moment that I realized the total addressable market for MicroStrategy convertible debt is 300 trillion plus. These debt transactions can be designed in infinite fashions to fit infinite risk appetites, perhaps even with negative interest rates. I'm going to play this, and then I'm going to tell you guys about. I listened to that that episode I was telling you guys about yesterday about Bitcoin-backed loans, and I'll explain kind of simply what they're proposing, and it's absolutely fascinating.
This is why the MicroStrategy trade makes sense to me, because they are monetizing the volatility of their stock and stepping down the volatility of Bitcoin, using their stock to structure and design a financial product to fit a investor's appetite. That's it. Like, they're doing the same thing I'm doing, just in a different marketplace. And they're going to continue doing this. And this market is very deep. Like, the pools of capital in this market are very deep. They're much deeper than the reinsurance market. much, much deeper. And we're going to see people buying. People are going to want to buy these all the time. I mean, this is going to get way bigger. This convertible debt issuance is going to get way bigger. It's going to get way bigger. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing corporations buying this convertible debt. Like, I mean, Microsoft, shit. Instead of just buying Bitcoin, maybe they go to MicroStrategy and say, hey, I want to buy $1 billion of MicroStrategy convertible debt. Perfect. Smash buy Bitcoin, throw a call option. We'll pay you a yield of, I don't know, 20 basis points for a decade. And there you go. There's your 1% hedge, Microsoft. Convertible bonds on MicroStrategy, $1 billion. Like, 1%. Done. Not even 1%. $4 billion would be 1%. And you get Bitcoin exposure, because what's Saylor going to do? He's going to take that $4 billion and he's going to smash buy Bitcoin. He's going to shove it in there. Holy shit. Oh my God. This is crazy. I haven't seen anything like it before, which is why it's so unique to me. I think it's really pretty fascinating. So anyway, none of this is financial advice. I really just like the math, and I really like understanding how markets work, right? So I work in a reinsurance market, which is super niche. I was like, okay, now I need to understand the equity market. Boom, go.
One of the great things about this whole crypto world and Bitcoin, the way that it's emerged, is it's a world that overwhelmingly caters, as it's coming up, it overwhelmingly caters to young men who are looking around and seeing just massive hurdles in their way everywhere. But the spirit of young men is such that they're kind of like water in a way, that they're gonna go find the thing that they can to get around the hurdle. So it's become a place where a bunch of autistic guys who just want to go shitpost and just kind of have their head to explore the world and come up with ideas and innovate and create and try to understand things, they've all flooded into this world. Well, now what's happening is, because of things like MicroStrategy and more companies taking on that approach, all of these guys are going and studying what's happening and trying to understand it, which is forcing them to have to try to understand, like, the global capital markets. And so they're actually, like, we're watching the new financial elite forming. Because the old elite don't want to consider this new world. They're just like, no, we're going to suppress it. We're going to keep it down. We're not going to allow you guys to build in there. We're going to come after you. We're going to debank you. We're going to arrest you. We're going to do whatever. But these guys are like, no, there's something here. So you say you're going to come after us. Well, fuck you. Have a Trump grenade. And Trump's going to let us start exploring this world. And so they're the ones who are actually the most well-versed on the most cutting-edge financial products in the market. Which means they're going to have the financial edge on the old heads, and they're the ones who are going to understand and be able to navigate and see most clearly the new emerging financial realities. This is like tangential on Gundo. where you've got a bunch of young white dudes who are super patriotic and very pro-natalist and very pro-Christian, who are forming the new military-industrial complex, and this is like the new financial industrial complex that's being populated by the same sort of psychology. The gamers, the 4chan autists. You know, many of them were in their teens or early 20s 10 years ago. They're now in their mid-20s to 30s. So they're now beginning to enter the full professional markets, and they're doing it through these vectors. There's a cause for massive, massive optimism. This is the vibe shift. This is the translation of the power structure to the next generation.
Over the equity market. Oh, I need to understand the debt market. Do that. Real estate market. I love, thinking about all these different marketplaces and how they kind of are interconnected, because all the capital is becoming a bit more fluid. Like before a digital economy, these reinsurance transactions that I previously was explaining, they were done literally on a napkin at the bar. Like there are stories about reinsurance transactions. Yeah, dude, I'm good for 25 million. Write me down for 25 million. It's like napkin at the pub in Lloyd's of London. Like no shit. That's how these were done. Now we're getting to a digital world where there's much more transparency, capital moves quicker, and speed is going to be important. And the reinsurance market is incredibly slow, and same with insurance. And I suspect that these marketplaces over the next decade are going to transition into faster marketplaces, either via tokenization, digitalization, democratization of these types of risk. I mean, just thinking about cat risk. Cat risk is really fun. I'm sure like half of the people watching this would love to gamble on like hurricanes hitting Florida. I'm surprised it's not a gambling platform yet. I'm sure there will be something at some point in the future where we see something like that. So that'll be interesting to see how that gets tokenized. I'm sure it's going to get tokenized, and I'm sure that capacity is going to get into the insurance and reinsurance market somehow.
Okay, let me pull up this video here so that I have the link to drop it in the Substack post later on. So this is the interview I was listening to yesterday. Andrew Hones on TFTC. Your Bitcoin is worth more than you think. New collateral method. And it's almost a 2-hour episode, but it's really, really good. He's a very fascinating guy. And interestingly, one of the ways that he happened upon, he had a background in finance and economics, and but then he spent time in college doing like classical studies. And he quoted a bunch of like some saints and a rabbi and a few different other like religious scholars talking about debt and interest and usury. And so one of his motivations at getting into this world surrounding Bitcoin was actually like skepticism about an interest model and trying to figure out a way to improve that based on stuff that he read in the Torah. It was very, very interesting, very ironic. So one of the ways he described this, I really strongly recommend going and listening to him talk about this. Very interesting guy, very, very insightful, and his mind is just exploding with ideas. And he talks about all the different vectors for incorporating Bitcoin both directly and indirectly in your business model. And this is what we're right on the cusp of now. Having an extremely pro-crypto administration that's talking and seems like it's very likely they're going to add a strategic Bitcoin reserve, that's going to cause an absolute explosion of innovation in this space. Because the biggest thing that's been holding that back, it's been happening anyways by the sheer force of will, but the biggest thing holding it back is a hostile administration and suspicion about the future. But by the time they begin exploring into this area, there's going to be such a thirst for new kinds of assets. Because if you think about it, everything is hyper leveraged to the gills. Every company, every business, every country is in their balance sheet is in really sketchy shape because there's so much debt that's having to be dispersed and allocated and all over the place. So people are really thirsty for healthy debt, which creates the opportunity for generating new kinds of assets, which rebalances that balance sheet. Like, there's two ways you can approach this. You could say we need to try to diminish our debt, or you could say we could increase our assets. And so within the crypto world lies the potential for entirely new types of assets. So one of the things of a very simplified model that he described here, and I'm going to try to remember the details of it. It was too long to put into one clip because he kind of wandered around a bit, but on the like personal retail level, imagine a mortgage. So he said $300,000 house, 6.99% interest. It comes out to principal and interest payments of about $1,600 a month. So, and this is like 20% down, 80% LTV, and a 30-year mortgage. Now, a hypothetical new model incorporating Bitcoin would be that you do, let me see if I remember the numbers here. So the house is $300,000. Then you take 10% of that in Bitcoin. So the actual loan is against $330,000. It's still 80% loan to value. So instead of putting down $60,000, I think it's like $64,000 or $66,000 that the person has put down. But then it's a 25-year mortgage instead of 30, and it's a 5.25% interest instead of 6.99, which was whatever the number was when he was doing this. This is just a hypothetical. And then what happens with the person paying the mortgage? Their mortgage is actually cheaper in this particular structure. So it comes out to being a little under $1,600 a month. It was like $1,536 or something like that. So the term is shorter, the payments are cheaper, and then you incorporate a model where for something along the lines of, you could do all sorts of different iterations of this, but for every year that someone is paying on that mortgage, paying that interest, they are vesting into 2% of the returns on the Bitcoin that is being held in escrow. So you had $30,000 worth of Bitcoin that was put into escrow. For every year that the person pays on that mortgage, they're vesting into 2% more of the returns on that Bitcoin. So if they, and maybe they have like a minimum, they have to, a 4-year minimum or something like that. But then if they end up paying off that mortgage after 25 years, they vested into 50% of the returns on that Bitcoin that was being held in escrow. And so it completely, like financially, it makes vast amounts of sense for the person taking on the mortgage. It secures the debt much more for the person offering it, and it incentivizes low time preference. And so basically the way he was visualizing this, he thought about it as he was flying, he was taking off and looking down at the houses below. And then his son was talking to about something related to Super Mario Brothers or something along those lines. And basically you are stacking Bitcoin on top of the houses. And so this is also a way that you're injecting Bitcoin into neighborhoods for revitalizing, regenerating. And this is just on a like talking about a mortgage, like to illustrate it. You can do this sort of debt structuring in all sorts of different domains. This is just one of the many different things that Bitcoin could do. I thought it was really, really fascinating. And he brought up a whole bunch of other things as well. Strongly recommend this interview on TFTC from 7 months ago with Andrew Hones. Your Bitcoin is worth more than you think. New collateral method. John Brown says, that all assumes Bitcoin will keep going up in value. I see no reason why Bitcoin won't eventually go zero. No, it's like a mathematical impossibility for it to go to zero, effectively. All right, I got 2 more things for you guys here today. This is just kind of interesting. One of them is a history of Mar-a-Lago, and then the other one is some interesting stuff about the Stanford prison experiment that we've heard about. You know, if you went to school, you heard about the Stanford prison experiment. Well, there's some stuff you may not know about it. So the first thing here is this thread. This is Mar-a-Lago in 1985, 126-room mansion nobody wanted. Then Donald Trump bought it for $7 million. But it hemorrhaged money for years until Trump had a genius idea that transformed it into a $40 million a year cash cow. Here's the full story. So here's the before. It's always best when you do the before photos in black and white. And then even better is if you do the after photo and you really up the like the vibrance and the saturation. Mar-a-Lago wasn't just any property. Built in the 1920s by serial heiress Marjorie Merriweather Post, it was designed as a National Historic Landmark. The name means sea to lake in Spanish, reflecting its unique location.
Since 1927, the property has been a symbol of Florida's upper echelon. The brainchild of cereal company heiress Marjorie Merriweather Post. It has long hosted top VIPs from around the globe.
People would always say, who were some of the dignitaries and celebrities who were entertained at...
Whoops. All right, so here's where it gets interesting. When Post died, she willed the estate to the U.S. government, but they returned it to her foundation. The maintenance costs were too high. For years, the property sat empty. No one wanted to take on the financial burden until Trump came along.
Close to the end of Marjorie's life, she was setting up her properties to be distributed to different areas. Her greatest hope for Mar-a-Lago was for it to become a winter White House for the President of the United States.
So in 1964, Marjorie Merriweather Post decided that she was going to just give the estate to the state of Florida. But the upkeep was estimated at $250,000 a year, which of course was a lot of money in 1964.
Very interesting point here that her vision for it was that for it to become a winter White House. In 1985, Trump saw an opportunity others missed, but his initial bid for Mar-a-Lago was denied. So he strategically bought land between Mar-a-Lago and the ocean for $2 million, causing competing interests to decline. Come on. Result, he nabbed the 126-room mansion for just $7 million. But he soon realized why others stayed away. The property was hemorrhaging money.
In 1985, Donald Trump purchased the property from the Post Foundation and used the estate as a private residence. But the annual cost became a burden to him as well.
Donald Trump goes to the town of Palm Beach and he says, this place is costing me $1 million a year in upkeep, and I can't afford it. So I need you to let me turn it into a private club.
Due to its historical significance, there were preservation requirements, plus high-end amenities to maintain, extensive renovations needed, and massive operational costs. For years, it seemed like a massive mistake. Then Trump had an idea that would change everything. Instead of keeping it as a private residence, he'd turn it into an exclusive private club. But not just any club, he'd make it the most prestigious club in Palm Beach. The transformation began in 1994. 5 clay tennis courts, Trump spa and salon, luxury guest suites, beach club access, and waterfront pool. But the real genius was in the membership structure. Trump created artificial scarcity. He capped membership at 500 people with an initiation fee of $25,000. The wealthy elite of Palm Beach were practically begging to join. By 2014,
Mar-a-Lago was reestablished as the exclusive members-only Mar-a-Lago Club, complete with a 20,000 square foot ballroom renovation featuring $7 million in gold leaf.
It was generating $15.6 million annually. The property that was once bleeding money became a cash cow. And today, it makes over $40 million a year. Having a Mar-a-Lago membership meant you were somebody. This is where it gets interesting. The member list reads like a who's who. Billionaire William Koch, finance mogul Thomas Peterfy, real estate titan Richard Lefrak, Newsmax CEO Christopher Ruddy. Trump wasn't just selling access, he was selling status. Shout out to Abe. That's why I love the story so much. Trump took a product and turned it into a story people wanted to be a part of. So there's a meta thing to this thread here. There's a great way for someone who's offering a service to generate virality using something related in the news, providing some interesting value. 29 million impressions on this, the first tweet on this thread. And he uses the whole thing as a setup to introduce his product. So Trump took a product and turned it into a story people wanted to be a part of, and we've spent the past 2 years developing a way for founders to do the same thing. You see, people today don't buy from companies. They buy from people, from stories. They don't trust the swaths of AI-generated content and corporate BS anymore. Think about it. Elon Musk, Logan Paul, the Kardashians. Their business is dependent on the stories of people. And the best way to create this same effect, the same thing Trump's been doing all his life, cultivate a personal brand. It's an asset that'll pay dividends for life. When you build a strong personal brand, you create your own Mar-a-Lago effect. Customers seek you out. Investors want to back you. Top talent wants to work with you, all while you sleep. And then, of course, we've got to get the Alex Hormozi insight. One of the best guys you can follow.
I don't think everyone should be famous. I don't think everyone should build a personal brand. I don't think everyone should anything. You can do whatever you want. And I have billionaire friends who want to stay anonymous, and they're pretty smart dudes. I do think that from a money-making perspective, it is a time warp. You can just go way faster. That is because you can attract talent at such a higher rate than you could otherwise. You can bring people on who already know your values, know what you're about, have already consumed more content than most people's employees currently know about them and their way of doing business. You can basically pre-train your entire team before they come on board because of the amount of stuff that you put out. And those are just unbelievably valuable things. Not to mention, if you're on the deal side, you know, like for us, like investing in companies, we have so much more trust at the table. It's so much better as a process, having been on both types of deals, like white knuckle deals and really friendly deals. Way more fun to do friendly deals.
Founders will build your personal company brand on X and beyond without you lifting a finger. To date, we've already helped 60 plus founders get 2+ billion combined views. Interested in how we can do this? Book your free discovery call here. I don't know anything about him. I thought it was a really interesting thread, and I respect the game here. Being able to market this way, create a really interesting thread, get a bunch of eyeballs on it, and then segue it into your offering and drop it out here for someone to go use. Then he's just doing a free strategy call. Obviously, you're going to get pitched on services on that. But I know there's a bunch of you out there who have businesses, who are founders. I talked to a number of you guys in the King Pill Discord. So if you're not listening to Alex Hormozi, you have to. This is one of the best. If you're focused on building and marketing a business, Alex Hormozi is going to give you some of the best free advice you'll ever get. So you should be following him, listening to his podcast, reading his books, and then this guy seems to know what he's doing. This is effective. So you could go book your free call with him and see what it's like. It's fun sometimes to just do a call like this, just to kind of hear the pitch, the structure of the pitch, how they go about doing it, just kind of doing market research on competitors, that sort of thing. Yeah, so shout out to Tim Carden. Never seen him before, don't know anything about him, but if you guys were interested in this, then I'd recommend you go to kingpill.substack.com and click the link and go check out what he has to offer. All right, so last story of the day. We will have the Schizo stream in the King Pill Discord tonight. It'll probably be 8 or 8:30 Central Time, so about an hour and a half or so from now. We'll be continuing our watch of the story of the continuity of government plans that were being played around with toward the end of the last Trump administration, and the devolution theory, proper schizo content. So if you want to join us for that, go to kingpill.com, join the King Pill Discord. We'd love to have you in there, and we'll be on there for a few hours tonight, chit-chatting. And do me a favor, hit the like button. We're at 76 likes. If we don't get to 100 likes by the end of this stream, I'm taking my shirt off. You guys are going to have to see it. You're going to have to see all that hair. If you don't want to see it, if you don't want to see that, you better go hit the like button. And to John Brown, if you want to know more about Bitcoin, there's a whole bunch of different places you can go. It's all absolutely all over the place. But I would recommend the video I was just talking about, this one here. I'll drop the link for it here in the description right now, or not in the description, but in the chat. And then there'll also be a link for it on the Substack post for this. Just go watch this. Just lots of interesting ideas there. Even someone who already is fully orange pilled could still would probably find it very interesting. So that'll also be in the Substack post for this afterwards, kingpill.substack.com. All right, let's watch this about the Stanford prison experiment. This is very interesting.
The Stanford prison experiment was a lie. Oh my fucking God. I am only on the second episode of the Stanford prison experiment docuseries. Holy fucking shit. I'm 9 minutes and 33 seconds into the second episode, and I had to pause to fucking get this out. We have been told forever that the Stanford prison experiment proves, basically, that the guards, otherwise decent people, right? Because the ones from this experiment were upstanding Stanford fucking students. Good people will do bad things because of the environment. even if it's against their own like better judgment. That is not what the fuck happened here. Holy shit. This the professor Zimbardo, Philip Zimbardo, he went on a fucking speaking tour. He wrote books. And they've shown clips from all of it about how he is saying like, oh yes, we didn't tell them anything. Listen, the prisoners, students still, were locked up in these prisons 24/7 throughout the course of the experiment. The guards got to go home. They worked 8-hour shifts and they went home. And he told everyone on every fucking news spot that he spoke in the book that he fucking wrote, or the books he fucking wrote, he said that it was completely spontaneous. He did not give them any guidance. No one gave them any training on how to be a guard. The only thing that he told them, he said, was just go in there, keep law and order. That's it. And if the prisoners escape, it's over. The experiment is over and you won't get your $15 a day anymore. He said that was it, that they got no training. Now we've got this fucking French guy that's come on the scene and he's reviewing the archives because they filmed everything. They filmed the pre and the actual as it was going on. I'm talking like the day that it started, they went and they sent cop cars to the prisoners' homes to pick them up and arrest them and pat them down in front of their neighbors. So we got to see all of that. The Frenchie is reviewing all the archives and he's like, Zimbardo is a liar because what he says is not consistent with the archive. The archive tells a different story. He's at a round table. He's standing up at a fucking oval table, I should say, with all of the potential guards, okay? And he's telling them all exactly what they can do. No violence, no physical violence, but make them do push-ups. You can make them do jumping jacks. You can use sexual humiliation, put them in the hole, make them be naked for the first 15 minutes while you're there, dehumanize them as much as possible, put scullies on their heads to simulate baldness, take off all of their clothes, including their underwear, and only give them a little garment to wear. Make sure that they address you as a correctional officer. They have to respect you. And so and it was all typed out too, because we're seeing highlighted portions of the document where it says, make sure you do this, you can do this. All of the tactics that you can employ to make sure that you retain power. And he's seen on the video saying, we're running this. We're running it, meaning us, him being the warden, and the other guys being the guards. And the whole crux of it was that everyone went along with it. No one ever stood up to say, I'm not doing this. Nobody's conscience got the better of them. And tell me why we just got introduced at the 9-minute mark to Kent Cotter. Cotter, Kent Cotter. He's like, yeah, I'm the guy that everyone should probably have heard about. Why? Because at that round table, oval table, when they're telling them what to do and what they can do and like rubbing their little hands together about all the evil things that they can do to their subjects, he quit. He said, I don't feel comfortable with this at all. And he walked out. What? That completely fucking discredits your entire fucking study. That discredits your entire fucking study. Another guard who went through with it, they're interviewing him now, years later, and he's saying that he was the smallest guy in his class his entire life. And yeah, he reveled in the opportunity to exert power over people. What does that tell you? Kent Cotter looks like a tall 6'3" drink of water. Okay. The other guy is this little guy, right? What does that tell you? The guy who was self-assured and like well-adjusted was like, I don't think I'm going to do that. And then the guy who had an axe to grind and had like a chip on his shoulder and like wanted to exert authority over someone else was more than happy to stay. This is bad. And And I'm only fucking 9 minutes into the second episode. This is so bad because this fucking professor went on to be an expert witness in hundreds of fucking cases where he testified for the defense when the defendant was a cop or a military person who was accused of wrongdoing. He testified for the defense in the Abu Ghraib trial, saying that good people will do bad things when institutionalized. And there is no such thing as free will. Kent Cotter, ladies and gentlemen, free will. It's not good people will do bad things. It's that kind of good presenting people who are underlying rotten will do fucking bad things if you give them permission to. This is bad. I can't fucking wait for this to continue. Bye.
Physiognomy strikes again, as Josh Ham says. The women are noticing. The women are picking up on it. They're seeing the patterns. Once you start seeing these patterns, it's hard to stop. You start seeing them everywhere. Tiny hats for tiny men. Yeah. All right, I dropped one other link in the live chat here for John Brown was asking for a place to go if you want to learn about Bitcoin. I dropped the link to the What is Money podcast with Robert Breedlove, his series with Michael Saylor. I would recommend that to anyone, even if they're not necessarily interested in Bitcoin, just because of the way that Saylor breaks down the history of energy. And another place that you could go would be Robert Breedlove's series with Jason Lowery, talking about power projection and the role that Bitcoin plays in national security. These are all great places to go to start. And even if you're not necessarily directly interested in Bitcoin per se, both of those guys, Jason Lowery and Michael Saylor, are brilliant. They have very interesting insights into the nature of like the evolution of defense on Lowery's side, the evolution of human defense and power projection, and then on relatedly on Saylor's side is the what energy is, with the role that energy plays. I mean, like, money is a proxy for energy. That's basically one of the points he's making, that you expend energy and you do things and you accumulate money that represents the energy that you expended. So you're storing your energy in money. So then the question is, which asset is, and you can take that money and you can store that energy that isn't that money into another asset, into a piece of property or commodities or gold or whatever else. So then which asset is going to be the best store of energy that's going to have the least like slippage or fray or like energy leaking out of the system? So that's one of Saylor's insights with Bitcoin. And then Jason Lowery has some really interesting thoughts on power projection and the way that Bitcoin is going to play a role in that. So those are places I would start. I'll drop those on the Substack link list for this episode that I'll get posted here later this evening. That's the last thing I got for you guys today. Do me a favor, hit the like button and share the show. I won't be doing a stream tomorrow. I don't think. I may decide at the last minute to do something impromptu. So I guess follow me on Twitter at RealKingPilled. But I'm not planning to do a show tomorrow. But we will have the Schizo stream tonight in the King Pill Discord. So go over there and join kingpill.com. And otherwise, I will for sure be back on Friday for another episode. We're at 83 likes, so it looks like you guys are getting the chest sweater today. Do me a favor and hit the like button as I give you Hulk. But first of all, I gotta show nips, man. You did it. You earned this. All right, guys. I have to obey my wife. My wife said I had to take my shirt off if you didn't get me to 100 likes, and you didn't get me to 100 likes. So this is all I can do. Appreciate all of you. Thanks for showing up, and I will see you guys tonight in the Schizo stream, the King Pill Discord, or on Friday for another episode of the ASTROLABE. Until then, I give you Hulk.
They're my hero. And they tried to kill the next president of the United States. Enough was enough.